Welcome to Purely Prabhupada, Ancient Truths for the Upliftment of the Modern World. My name is Alexis. I'm here with Comrade Devi Dasi, also known as Dr. Karen Silberstein. For those who are just joining us, we're continuing our introductory series to Purely Prabhupada. I'd like to ask, is it possible for this world to be fixed by the development of God consciousness?
Actually, our goal at Purely Prabhupada is not to try to fix this world, but to exit it and return to the eternally blissful abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'd like to be able to take as many people along with us in this endeavor, and for that purpose, we want to try to create a supportive environment. The material world is likened to a reform school or a prison. And the goal here is to reawaken our love of Godhead and return to that kingdom of God. It's not the position of a youth in a reform school or a prisoner in the state system to try to change the system or make it into something different from what it really is. There's a certain condition, there's a certain environment, and it is what it is, and that can't be changed. The position is to eventually get out of the prison or the reform school. It's the same for our stay in this material world. We don't want to remain here. We want to develop the mentality and the habits, the lifestyle by which we can eventually return to the kingdom of God and end our entanglement in this material world.
What about humanitarian efforts, environmental and social efforts? Even the devotees of the Lord have to live and work in this material world. Where do efforts like those fit in?
There are a lot of humanitarian endeavors, like you mentioned, and a lot of times these endeavors are taken for spiritual, but they're not really. And even if we could make heaven on earth, there's still the sufferings of birth, death, disease, and old age. At the same time, to create a spiritual community, social support systems for the development of Krishna consciousness, of God consciousness, is very important. The cultivation of spiritual life on its own is very joyful, but it's still not the goal to try to stay in this material world and enjoy perpetually. Actually, any effort towards staying here and trying to enjoy is futile because it's not the nature of this place.
There are so many things we need to do just to survive in this world. These Western countries are especially complicated. How can we link spiritual practices with our daily work schedules? In other words, how can we make time for spiritual life in an already full day?
That's a concern of many, many people. And there are practical things that we can do to spiritualize even our ordinary daily activities. It's a very well-known approach in network marketing, say, where they don't ask you to buy anything different, but you're being asked to replace what you already buy with the option that's being presented by that salesperson. So we can apply this principle in spiritual life also. For example, we already eat. So we can learn to prepare vegetarian foodstuffs and offer them to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and honor those foodstuffs afterwards in a mood that we're eating blessed food. We give in charity, so we can start to study who's a proper recipient of our charity. Where should we be giving our charity? In other words, we want to make sure that the charity that we're offering is benefiting both us and the recipient in a spiritual way, so we can become educated in those aspects and still give charity, but give in a way that's spiritually beneficial for us and to the beneficiary. We like to read, we like to hear stories. so we can read and hear about Krishna. We're offering at purelyprabhupada.com beautiful 2-volume set of books called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these are stories about the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna as taken from the 10th canto of the multi-volume Srimad Bhagavatam set. We can play music for Krishna. We like to hear music. We like to play music. We can do it for Krishna. Drama, so many things. The main point would be to study what are we doing that's not beneficial for our spiritual life and replace it with activities that do benefit our eternal spiritual future.
That's so encouraging. Where would our skills, our natural talents fit in?
We all do have natural skills and talents. And if we use those talents and skills in the service of God and in the service of those who serve God, that's the perfection of those talents and skills. Srila Prabhupada told us, just add Krishna. And he gave the example of the zero being used as a placeholder in the ones column, in the tens column, in the hundreds column, like that. But just having zeros as a placeholder in all the columns, it's valueless. You can have an unlimited string of zeros and there's no value. But just by adding Krishna, it's like putting the one to the left of all those zeros. So it gives value to all our talents and skills. So we can play music, we can sing, we can dance, we can do drama. Oh, we can do art, we can farm, we can develop intentional community with Krishna at the center. And then that becomes the perfection of our endeavor. There's real value. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of things we can do to help us progress in our spiritual life. And the education is there in the books by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, that we present at purelyprabhupada.com.
We sometimes hear that in order to be successful in spiritual life, we should take a vow of poverty or become a renunciant. How accurate is that?
It's actually more like being committed to proper utilization. If we use what we have in the service of God and His devotees, then that spiritualizes the asset. So practically, to cultivate spiritual life, we want to live as simply as possible. We want to accept what the Lord gives us easily, and that can be a lot or a little, and be satisfied with what the Lord's given us. This is a very beautiful book given to us by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. It's called Sri Isopanishad, and I'd actually like to read to you the translation of the first mantra. The book is laid out very beautifully with the original Devanagari alphabet, transliteration, and then the English translation. So the English translation of Mantra 1 is everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So sometimes the Lord chooses to give us a little or a lot, but in either case, the practice of proper utilization applies. We don't want to be over-endeavoring for excessive accumulation and sense gratification, and we also don't want to artificially renounce what the Lord has mercifully given us as our quota for our sustenance and our service.
Some people may think that the development of God consciousness is difficult, that they don't have time or it doesn't fit their lifestyle. How would you answer them?
It might seem like there's a difficulty in taking up the process of developing Krishna consciousness, but actually there's more difficulty in not taking it up. If we don't take to the process of reawakening our dormant love of Godhead, then we don't know what our future will be, either in this lifetime or moving forward at the time of death. I spent many years in university settings, and I watched people going through the austerities of getting a PhD. They weren't sleeping properly, they weren't eating properly, they had to miss the parties. So they get this piece of paper after many years of struggle, a piece of paper that is valueless at the time of death. But even if we apply ourselves, even a little bit, to the process of developing Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, that endeavor is never lost. It's to our eternal benefit, whatever devotional service we've done in this lifetime. The teachings of Srila Prabhupada are very practical, they're substantial, they're uplifting. They're an invitation to come back to our real home in the kingdom of God. They instruct us how not to waste any more time trying to enjoy the tasteless and temporary pleasures of this world. And they teach us that we can't try to turn this world into something it's not, just by the nature of its own being.
This is so important to understand. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to be able to share this information with you on behalf of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada.
If you are interested in the subject matter of this video and would like to learn more, please visit purelyprabhupada.com. Ancient Truths for the Upliftment of the Modern World.